Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek Podcast.
My father, we didn't get along. Frankly, there were times I downright hated his guts. We never resolved things. This is the first year I'll be older than he was when he died. But I'd give years of my own life if we could have one more argument. So, my plan was to finish this mission, then sit in a fishing cabin on Setlik 2's ice moon, bring a good bottle of whiskey, and have that talk.
I'm sorry about your dad. But I wonder, if someday you're not around anymore, how many people on this ship would wish they had another day to talk to you? Sometimes it's hard to visit the past.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be here at all.
Okay, this is the It's Got Star Trek podcast. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the It's Got Star Trek podcast. Mm-hmm. This is episode 197 of the It's Got Star Trek podcast. I don't know. We're just getting right into it, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe. We are. We're getting right into it. We've had a number of trials and tribulations on the way to recording this episode. There's so much Star Trek out there. Jesus, they keep bringing out Star Treks. They dropped this episode on us.
There was a lot of
surprise.
Star Trek in this episode.
Yeah, because we are discussing this week. We are discussing those old scientists, strange new
Ad
worlds.
Astra per Aspera.
Oh no, it's not that one.
Those old scientists.
That one. It's that one.
I'm not 100%.
Ad Astra per Aspera.
Oh no, it's not that one.
Okay.
Those old scientists.
It's that one. It's that one.
All right. It's still not entirely clear to me whether that was a bit or an actual error on your part.
Tomorrow.
No, it's not that one. Tomorrow.
Which one is it?
Those old scientists. Those old scientists.
Okay. Yes, we are discussing Those Old Scientists. And what did I say? It was Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 7.
Yeah, and it was, and you know, like, I'm not complaining because it's cool to get more Star Trek all at once. It's fun every once in a while. It's intense, but I'm just kind of like, what the fuck, man? Like, what was the reasoning behind it?
They've been talking about this episode like for a year.
All the fans? Did all the fans
over a year? Like, it's been like there's going to be this crossover.
All right.
episode.
Did all the fans freak out and want it now or something?
No. Okay. So here's the deal.
There's some kind of complicated business.
We can figure some things out through implication, through supposition, and through reports from people on the ground, out in the field. They have. You've heard of these comic book conventions, right? You've heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there are these conventions that people attend.
Yeah.
That are fun. And people have all sorts of good times.
People go there.
And
people talk. People
studios have representatives come to drum up support for their television programs and their movie films. And
they're drumming up support for their movie films.
It was on one of these occasions that they decided to drop this episode, to use the colloquial parlance. They decided to drop.
Please stop doing that.
They decided to drop this episode during the one of these comic book conventions, to get the crowd excited. Mm-hmm. Now, the rumor got out that this was going to be happening, and immediately all these people were like, well, what the fuck? What about the rest of us who can't come to the convention?
Yeah, really.
And I think also perhaps there was a concern on the studio side that there would be leaks, plot points, and all sorts of other things. It would ruin the surprise a little bit. So I think they just decided to, I have no idea what the order of events is, but I think it was just decided, okay, if we're going to show it at the, to the comic book convention, we should also show it to everyone else in the world. just so everyone can have a good time.
I haven't watched like UFC in a long time, but I do remember there was a time they had an event out in somewhere where the time zone was way different, and like ESPN reported on it earlier.
It was like Indonesia.
Oh yeah,
somewhere, and then I don't know if it was Indonesia,
Malaysia,
and it was depressing because you found the results of the fight, the conclusion of the sports match prior to,
and the President Dana White or whatever was all super pissed off and stuff. So that does relate to what we're talking about. It does. It's an example of what can happen.
I will support you in this, Dan, firmly, no matter what Jesse says.
I didn't say nothing.
Exactly.
It's a little different. It's a little different with shows though, because like, there's a lot of people that know the show's outcome beforehand. But
okay,
anyway.
so I think that's some combination of whatever. They were like, let's release this episode early.
Okay.
What was that?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
I think that they knew they had a winner on their hands, and so they were trying to generate Paramount Plus, whoever the entities that own them are trying to, in this this justifiably anti-corporate environment we're in, with the writer's strike and the actor's strike and just the general crushing of labor by the owners of capital that has been going on for eons. I think in that environment, they were trying to make us feel a little bit more positive towards them by releasing a fun, excellent episode that they had high confidence,
much anticipated,
people were going to enjoy.
I like it.
Yes, and I think I think that's why they did it. And for better or for worse, it's clear that they're not caring about their workaday podcasters who have to double up their efforts.
No.
Open Pike Night is they had to rush out and record extra stuff. All the other cool podcasts, much cooler podcasts, are figuring out ways. How can we cover this? Do we do a live YouTube show? Whatever. Everyone's like trying to get out there and discuss.
Ruined everything.
It's fine to put out an episode early, but don't like put out another episode like in the same week. Like, just take it easy.
It was intense. As a fan, I was like, oh great, lots of Star Trek. As a podcaster,
wait a minute. We have to do another episode. For this episode.
All of that is to say that that
ruined everything.
Yes, this episode we will be discussing those old scientists.
Thank you.
Yeah, we said that already.
But keep an eye out for a midweekish. We don't know exactly when, but we will be releasing a discussion on episode 8.
Oh no!
Under the Cloak of War, sometime soon. Right?
Is that the musical one?
And you know,
because next week, as in 1 week from now.
Right.
For those who are temporarily co-located with us at the moment, 1 week from now, we will be discussing the Starship Rhapsody or whatever that episode's called, where they get attacked by mind bugs that make them sing musicals.
And you know what else will be there?
Orion Hurricanes.
Delac.
Delac.
It's like their wormwood or whatever.
Yeah. All right.
It's right. Isn't that the deal?
They got a bottle of Delac.
That's the deal.
They got a bottle of Delac. It's like it makes them hallucinate.
Good thing we brought the Delac.
Good thing. The other bit of administrative information we have to provide before we get into the meat of this conversation.
I don't want
to know. Is that this is episode 197, which means our 200th episode is coming up, and we've decided to celebrate
Round the corner
in a moderate level of style. 200th episode. So we'll have a 200th episode special. We're going to have some highlight clips and this, that, and the other thing. But one of the...
It'll be a clip show.
One of the main... we will be there. It's not going to be like at the end of Star Trek TNG Season 2, Shades of Grey. Now, we will have highlight clips, but we will be here to comment on them. Also, we've been soliciting and continue to solicit submissions from our audience with questions or comments or simple salutations, whatever you're into doing. If you're curious, if you have any questions for us about our opinions on Star Trek or other stuff, I don't know, outside of Star Trek, you let us know. You can send in questions, comments, etc. to feedback@itsgotstartrek.
Feedback.
No, don't listen. Do not listen to Dan or to Jesse.
Food sack.
Moe's Family Feed Bag.
It is feedback at
Strap it on.
That was a Simpsons reference.
at itsgotstartrek.com. That's for emails. But even better, if you are so inclined, we have made it super easy for you to submit an audio submission.
Yeah.
You can submit an audio submission.
Record it yourself.
Or the website will record it for you.
Yeah,
Go to
exactly.
itsgotstartrek.com/record. That's itsgotstartrek.com/record. And you can record up to 90 seconds of audio. And you can, if you don't like what you record, you can play it back. You don't have to send it until you're happy with it.
Just do it again.
It's not like a voicemail machine.
tape.
You know, like you call up the old school voicemail machines.
Okay.
And you leave a message and you're like, oh, Jesus, I sounded like such a fucking idiot on that message. But the old ones, you couldn't delete it. It was on a tape.
The new ones you can read.
And you had to do a whole sitcom thing where you break into the house of the person to get the tape.
That's right.
Like your boss's house or your girlfriend's house, whatever, you get to get the tape, sitcom style. You don't have to do that in this particular circumstance to help us celebrate our 200th episode.
You know what's the best? You know what's awesome about like?
About what?
The tape recording machines.
What was awesome about the tape recording
Those
machines?
teeny little
Because
tapes.
there's those little tapes when you had to get
You
the
like
get
the
the
little
tapes.
Well, yeah.
Flipping it open's the best part.
Popping it open?
Yeah.
The flipping it open's the best part.
It's the best part.
The flipping it open's the best part.
It's the best part.
When you press the button and it opens.
Yeah.
It's the best part.
All right, things are getting a little bit confusing here, but I think
I'd say
the bulk of our administrative
You can do that with
messages-
CD players. They don't flip any. You can't flip the top anymore with the listening devices, the audio device. When you press eject and it goes honk,
right.
you know, and you can pull out the
It's
thing.
just a tray slides out.
Yeah.
Dan, you're showing our age.
I use
Yeah.
CDs.
You prefer tapes or CDs?
I'm not going to answer that.
Well, the audience will never get it then.
The audience knows that joke.
Anyway, the 200th episode, send in comments, send in audio comments at itsgotstartrek/record if you don't mind. Yeah, that does it. Now we can actually talk about this business. I did want to make one note, though.
Boimler.
I did want to make one. What'd you say? Volume level?
Boimler.
Oh, Boimler. I wanted to make one minor note. And the one minor note was this. This is a crossover episode.
Yeah.
Lots of Lower Decks. We love Lower Decks on this show. We've covered each and every episode of Lower Decks. So we're all about Lower Decks. But a lot of our audience, maybe they haven't watched Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible.
They're listening to this
Some
because
people don't like
this
it.
is a Strange New Worlds. Right now, we're talking about Strange New Worlds. This is 10 episodes of Strange New Worlds. This is what this podcast is.
This was
discussing.
also a Lower Decks episode.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that when we're discussing this, that people in our audience listening to this,
It had the characteristics of
they
both.
may know nothing about Lower Decks.
Some people, yeah.
It would be the reverse if we had a Strange New Worlds crossover on Lower Decks, in which case maybe some people hadn't seen Strange New
So-
Worlds.
That would be weird.
And not everybody watches all Star Trek like us.
Yeah.
Some people are lame.
Some people were pick
So
and
if
choosy.
you're
Picky
wondering
and
what's
choosy.
going on in this like Lower Decks crossover with Strange New Worlds, it's best to understand it through analogy. It's kind of like the video game Street Fighter X Tekken.
Ah,
That's
yeah,
where-
I get exactly where
yeah,
you're going here.
right, yeah.
Street Fighter X Tekken.
Yeah, you have Street Fighter characters and Tekken characters, but if you've ever played either game, Street Fighter's like 2D.
Is that where they have like the dinosaurs with the boxing gloves?
Well, yeah, and like a polar bear, and they also have
Yeah.
like regular people. There's a guy with tiger head, but the
Hell
Street
yeah.
Fighter games are 2D graphics, and Tekken is
2D?
3D graphics, and then
2D?
they made the Tekken characters into 2D characters.
2D?
They
Much-
did.
Much like in,
That's crazy.
much like in this episode, they made Lower Decks, which is an animated series.
Oh, I see what you're
and
getting. at.
two-dimensional by definition.
Right.
Yes, well, it's the 2D, 3D thing. I guess it is 3D.
Well,
right.
after they
yeah,
had
it's
those
true.
drinks, they got
Wow.
all 2D.
Yeah,
I
they
get
did.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
As a point of clarity, people might generally go with the term live action versus animated, since in fact.
Well, I didn't say. I said.
I'm
I
just
was-
saying, technically, they're both 2D.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
technically.
technically,
technically,
yeah,
Street Fighter
technically.
and Tekken are both TD, but they're in they call them 3D games.
Exactly. That's why I said I'm cool with the analogy.
Yeah.
I just was adding a little bit, just a touch of information, just a touch of clarity, semantic clarity that we
I like it.
we know that TV shows are two-dimensional.
Thank you.
I state this because I'm the one who reads the email box.
Helpful.
And I will get the email. Actually, it won't be an email. It will be a Facebook comment. And frankly, we're still going to get it because usually the people will write the Facebook comment. They'll pause the episode of the podcast and write the Facebook comment in order to critique us, and
without listening to the whole thing.
And then they'll go back to listen to the podcast and they won't delete their comment. They'll respond to it saying like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I listened further and I heard your dumbass explanation."
You're not.
I feel like he doesn't listen.
You're just silly.
Okay.
You know what they need?
Who's they?
The people who are
You're about to say the audience.
The people who didn't listen. Do you know what they need?
I don't know.
Orion Hurricanes.
Okay, back to the old Star Trek.
Before we lose any more listeners.
They
turned the dial.
They have turned their.
They should make a podcast
dial.
app that like you turn a dial like a radio station.
Like on your phone.
What were you saying, Patrick? You went like boop, 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 boop.
You're turning the dial. I'm trying to, I'm trying and failing to simulate the.
They should create.
You can customize the type of dial.
They should create a physical knob that will like stick to your cell phone like a magnet, but it won't be a magnet. It'll be like electromagic or something.
Electromagic.
And you can twist it, and then you.
The problem is there's like 2 million podcasts. So like you'd need a real clever dial.
In like 50 to 100 years when we have speed that's so fast, we won't even be able to like,
speed that's so fast.
We won't even be able to.
Are you talking about computing speed or what speed?
Internet
Too
speed.
fast
and
to
what does
charge.
Pooping have to do with it? Anyway, okay, we're way off topic.
You read the internet while you poop.
Okay, yeah.
Come on.
Gotcha.
Nobody
Star Trek,
does that.
Star Trek, this is a good episode. I don't want to know. Sometimes it's hard to talk about the really good episodes because it's like, what are we going to do? Sit here and say it's really good? But
it was so good.
There's lots of
It's kind of like doing Inner Light on TNG. It's like, what can we really say about that episode?
I've never had an interest in doing Inner Light.
I know, because it's an amazing episode, but it's just like, what could we possibly say?
It would almost be like better to do Inner Light or even like Wrath of Khan, just doing it as a super dry analytical like literary analysis.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do
which is not fun
with like guest people that were really boring, like college professors going like, blah, 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 blah. Yes, but you see, the thing is about this blah 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 blah.
Hey.
All right. But we're having fun here tonight with this. We're gonna have fun regardless.
Probably
a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about.
A lot.
It's a lot.
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 And
It's a lot.
we're very lucky to have Dan here with us tonight because as part of the trials and tribulations we had to face, Dan was on a super secret mission having nothing to do with the government he does not work for.
He went to the frontier.
Yeah, this is not a government mission he was on. Some sort of super secret mission.
It was something more secret.
He was nearly delayed in coming back, and we've had to record late anyway because of Dan's activities.
Yeah, well,
and he still managed to get all these awesome sound clips sorted out.
Because I'm cool.
Because he's got black magic.
Shout out to Belfast Variety Convenience Store where you can get frazzles and weird Italian subs with like whole olives and giant pickle wedges. Like not slices, like giant thick pickle wedges.
Those were miserable looking sandwiches.
They weren't good.
And I don't know why you put yourself through
it's
all
in
that.
Belfast, Maine.
Belfast, Maine.
And and the frazzles were like those slush puppies you'd get at the swimming pool.
I think I'd rather go to the real
Not
one.
like a Slurpee, like a slush puppy, the syrup.
Slush puppy.
Syrup and ice.
Yeah.
I kind of like slush
They're
puppies.
okay if you do it right.
Yeah, those are pretty. The frazzles are pretty good.
Frazzle?
But at Cheese
Wait,
Louise,
what's a frazzle?
at Cheese Louise, I had a frozen lemonade that was.
Hold up. What is a frazzle?
We're getting off topic, aren't we?
I zoned out for a moment.
Frazzle is like a slush puppy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I went to Cheese Louise.
Cheese Louise, yes. What is this Cheese Louise?
At Cheese Louise, I had a frozen lemonade, and it was that shit where the juice all ran out, and there was like 3/4 of a cup of like ice left over because the slush like didn't fucking like it was like all slush and no fucking shit.
Yeah, that's
Chief O'Brien.
That is wrong. That's.
I mean,
but they had a good.
That's a criminal violation of beverage.
But they had a good buffalo chicken sandwich.
That's cool.
It was more of a melt than it was
chicken
grilled cheese.
I'm fine with these digressions.
Chief O'Brien.
Fine with them this week because part of the issue is yes, this is a very good episode. Those old scientists, which I do promise we will discuss with some measure of seriousness.
We're getting there.
Eventually. But first of all, it's like, yeah, it's a good episode. Second of all, all the other podcasts, all the other YouTube channels, they're either being recorded now or have already been released. They're going to be talking about all the Easter eggs. So we're not going to do an exhaustive list of the Easter eggs. We couldn't provide one if we wanted to. This is clearly an episode that rewards the audience, I should say, with by going through repeated viewings. I've seen it 3 or 4 times now. You always
like a Lower Decks episode.
Yeah, exactly. It's very densely packed little bits of humor. And other people will have talked about some of the super awesome stuff that happened in this episode.
Those people.
We'll touch on some of those things.
Fine.
But we are also going to just have a lot of filler talking about Dan being in Maine, not on a government mission.
No.
He was eating horrible sandwiches.
No, the sandwich was good.
From the Belfast.
Oh, the Belfast. Yeah, no, that was a bad sandwich. The Cheese Louise sandwich was good, but there's
Cheese Louise sounds like they got good sandwiches.
But the Belfast variety had a good slush puppy called a Frazzle. But the Cheese Louise, I like the frozen lemonade would have been good if it wasn't so much ice that all the syrup went away.
Dan, do you give permission? Can we share some of the pictures of those sandwiches on our Twitter feed?
Yes,
on our social media?
you may.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned.
We also got a bat flying around the house.
Yeah, that was I saw a video.
That
Dan sent us a video of he and his family members trying to shoot this bat out, a la the Great Outdoors.
Yeah,
it was heroic.
And the fucking same thing happened the next goddamn night. Oh no! It was another fucking bat. Just like we were, me and my brothers were playing like fucking Rocket League or something, and I turned over, and then like this bat, I was like, ah! And so this fucking bat's flying around. I was taking a video of one, and it like flies at me, and I'm like, it's dangerous. Bats
they
are
got
fucking
big old mosquitoes in Maine,
dude. So
are you sure it was a bat and not a mosquito?
Well, I'll give a good evidence as to why it probably wasn't, other than the visual.
Like you got to put on some
obviosity.
Pants and shit.
Gotta put on some pants
when the mosquitoes come out. Like,
so we noticed that the last night we were there, we kept getting bit by mosquitoes inside. So maybe the bats were keeping the mosquitoes away, and when we got rid of them, we started getting bitten by. Maybe they were like you keep a house bat like a cat for mice. You keep a house bat for mosquitoes.
I'm down with that.
Down with the house bat?
I don't know. Actually, the drop-ins are a problem. That's not
and the rabies.
But the first time the bat,
rats are a great vector for rabies in North America.
The first time the bat kind of went out on its own. This time, me and one of my brothers, we had to like each grab an umbrella, and while my other brother was like kind of cornering it, and we were like doing a penguin thing.
You got another brother?
I got two brothers. I got 2 brothers. So two brothers. It's just 2 brothers.
You got a brother, and then you got another brother. Which one's the other brother?
And then we didn't hurt the bat.
Did you do the flappy? Did you do the Last Crusade, Sean Connery?
No, I was thinking about that. We just like caught it in an angle where it like could only fly out, and so then it flew away, and then nobody died of rabies, which is bonus.
Yet.
Yeah, you don't want that.
The incubation time is a few days. Okay, back to Star Trek. This episode was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Rabies.
Hell yeah!
Which I think is one thing that helps explain why it's so awesome, because Jonathan Frakes is awesome.
He does great episodes.
Yeah.
He is associated with many great episodes throughout, ever since TNG. Did a lot of directing on TNG, directed a few episodes each of Deep Space Nine, Voyager.
I didn't know he did DS9.
Some Picard.
Enterprise. He did a bunch of Picard. He did some Discovery. This is his first Strange New Worlds. It's always a good sign. Something fun is probably going to happen. They're not all winners. If I recall, in one of the season 2 ones, did he direct the one where it was like with the spotlight business and all the? There was some stuff.
The Picard.
In Picard season 2, there was a couple.
Yeah, where she was Girardi was singing like at some fancy.
Yeah,
gala.
I believe that. I think it was Frakes that directed the episode. That it came in at like 38 minutes, and we were all like, something went wrong with this episode.
That's right.
They cut out a lot of this episode because this episode makes no sense. But anyway, you can go scroll back in the feed to our Picard season 2.
This episode's a winner.
This episode is a goddamn.
This one
winner.
that we're about to start talking about.
We're being like extra like blasphemous this evening. We keep saying like goddamn.
Goddamn. Shit.
We mean no particular offense.
Fuck.
Well, I do.
I'm gonna say fuck. Oh, Jesse. Yeah, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with you? What are we gonna do with you, Jesse?
I'm gonna find out.
Jesse, what are we gonna do with you?
We're just gonna have to find.
Jesse. What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
I know what we're gonna do.
I have a recommendation for what
Orion
we're gonna do.
Hurricanes.
Yes, it would be fun to drink some of those.
I will pass on the Ryan Hurricanes.
We are coming very close to break time.
Really?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Are you shitting me?
We're getting there, but I wanted to at least discuss the opening teaser before we take a break.
Okay.
I feel like I'm floating outside of myself right now.
I'm
like
you
vibrating or some shit.
No,
Is it the Coke Zero?
It's because
Dan had a long travel.
I had a long day and I was exhausted. And now my
know.
body is going into some overdrive, gonna die mode. And
Airplanes are hell.
In like 30 minutes, I'm gonna crash and just be like, oh.
It's gonna be great. We have to poke Dan.
Airports are worse, but airplanes are hell.
But this teaser, the opening teaser to Star Trek Strange New World Season 2, Episode 7, Those Old Scientists, we start out with the Cerritos.
Ad Astra per Aspera.
In animated form.
Yeah.
So you are, again, as I was trying to say earlier, orienting ourselves to say we are a Strange New Worlds fan and we know nothing of Lower Decks. Maybe we've seen a commercial here or there, but otherwise we know
if you were
nothing
watching,
of it.
You're saying we're
you would have been like, "What?"
You're like, what's going on?
What
Yeah,
is
to
this?
be clear, you're saying we're catering to those people. We are not those people that have never seen Lower Decks.
Yeah,
We've seen lots of Lower Decks.
I'm saying
I've watched it through a few times.
Put yourselves in the shoes of such a person.
Okay.
There are many such people.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I just think it's an interesting way to look at this episode.
You know, that's actually a good point, because when I was watching...
don't seem so surprised. Jesus Christ, Patrick.
You know what? You know what, Patrick? I didn't think you'd do it, but you said something useful. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. You're like...
I feel all awkward now.
No, it was humor. We were making humor.
We were making humor.
Yeah. Right now we're making humor. Later we'll be making the beast with two backs.
Yeah.
Remember learning about that in English class in high school? Except everyone's like, oh, Shakespeare. Ooh.
Except it'll be beast with three backs.
Oh, because of Jesse's going to get involved?
I would assume so.
I always thought he just sits in the corner.
I think I'm gonna, I'll sit over there. There's a sofa over there.
Okay, anyway, make your
Then
point.
where are we going to go?
Make your point.
Okay.
On the floor.
When I saw... Duh.
Come on.
When I saw Boimler's hair purple the first time live action for like 2 seconds, I was like, what the fuck? But then I was like, awesome. That's awesome. That's totally awesome. And of course he's got purple hair. But like for a moment,
really tall, though.
For a moment, I was like a little taken off guard. And the reason I was talking about your point, Patrick, is because like I didn't think about that for someone who's never seen Lower Decks. Like I'm wondering if they saw that purple hair and I was just like, what the fuck's going on? Like,
right.
Because like I said, it took me 2 seconds of surprise, but then
weird.
But then I was like, well, of course he has purple hair. Like, and that's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And
But if you've never seen Lower Decks, you're gonna be like, you know.
It's also surprising when they've jumped through the warp hole, the
portal,
the time portal, the warp hole.
Well, because he has that great line about they're the portal business and
It's
the portal
just a tunnel.
portal business timing portal.
This is a time portal.
They when they go from cartoon to live action, like the dissonance between the two, it's kind of like it's jarring for me because I was thinking like something looks weird and fake, and I was like, no, it doesn't. It's just like it jumped from animated to real, and it fucks my brain up a little bit.
It was weird, man. And
at some point, I have a 20-second clip I can play. It's actually the end scene because it's showing Strange New Worlds in Lower Decks cartoon.
That's right. Yeah, that was great.
And like it's interesting. The sound sounds a little different, like to me. Like I don't know if I'm inventing it.
No,
but
it sounded different.
Yeah, when they were in
their
animated
voices
form.
sounded different.
Yeah,
differently.
It sounded recorded in a recording booth.
Yeah,
separately,
right. Exactly,
without bouncing off of each other.
That's what you do when you're doing cartoons,
which is often, and that is also part of the skill of being a cartoon voiceover artist is having that engagement and enthusiasm when you may not be interacting with the actual other cast members, unlike working on the stage on the day.
Yeah, it helps to have that sort of interplay with the other actors. I guess I have two short clips that kind of compare. I just have these two things that says compare. So this is live action.
Mr. Short Clips.
Live long and prosper.
No, that was the Lower Decks clip.
Live long and prosper.
And then this is a Strange New Worlds clip. See, it sounds like there's more echo, and I mean, maybe it's just the scene they're in, but it sounds so clean when it's in Lower Decks. This is in this episode, I think at the beginning.
Live long and prosper.
And then this is him during some time in the Strange New Worlds.
Yeah. That's what Strange New Worlds sounds like.
Yeah.
Like real life.
Yeah.
It's all echoey.
It's very cute. There's a very cute little setup with the portal, and then they get
This
to go,
is a time portal.
go check out all the business. And then Rutherford is taking a picture with one of those little hollow cameras. It's like they've used in Star Trek before. Definitely on Voyager. I think maybe we've seen it elsewhere too, but certainly on Voyager we've seen
They
this
have
like
cameras.
It's like hollow camera business. And that activates the portal, and then you have Boimler. This is one of those Easter eggs we talked about, where he screams, "Remember me," which is this like, because there's that whole thing where in TNG, the episode "Remember Me" with Beverly Crusher, where her universe keeps getting smaller.
Oh yeah.
And then like
wild,
at the end, she's being
man.
sucked into some portal.
Oh, it's so weird.
Anyway, so that's like, there's one of those Easter eggs that we're not going to talk about all of them. That's one of them we're going to mention.
We're not going to talk about it.
No, we can talk about it. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to lay out the expectations. We're not going to mention every single Easter egg. There's Reddit posts for that. There's other podcasts for that that'll do it much better than we will.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good opening scene. Good transition.
Krolmuth B is one of Boimler's favorite portals.
Yeah. And they're on the way to Setlik
The flipping it opens
2,
the best part.
Sorry.
which is must be near
The Enterprise
Setlik
is, right?
3.
They got some
Crumb
of
hat
that
D.
triticale.
Yeah, they got the tritriticale.
Yeah.
So later,
Not quattro.
later it'll be quatritriticale.
It's a grain.
And then quintard.
And then quintotriticale.
It's a grain.
Here we have tritriticale, and then in TOS in The Trouble with Tribbles we have quadritriticale.
The Trouble with Tribbles.
And then in TAS, more trouble, more tribbles, or more tribbles, more trouble. I always forget which one it is.
That's ridiculous.
Then they have
no problem.
They have quintotriticale. Okay.
I don't know if this counts as an Easter egg, but they sort of made a reference. They did make a reference to the star date. They're like, 5-digit star date. And I looked that up actually, and it's true. Like TOS and Strange New Worlds do have a 5-digit one, and
it also bounces all over the place.
And TNG has a 6-digit. Well, when I say 6 digits, I mean and 1 decimal.
Yeah.
Like 6 digits means 5 plus 1 decimal place. But so they were spot on with that.
Spot on.
And Mariner was all like, I'm not sure about those ranks on their arms or whatever she said. She said some kind of like, I wasn't into that.
Yeah, she said ranks on the sleeves.
Yeah, ranks on the sleeves.
I don't know about
She wasn't
that.
sure about that.
Yeah, but you know what I am sure about?
It's time for a break.
Time for a break.
You know what we're gonna do during that break?
Nothing.
Orion Hurricane.
I'm down. All right, we will be right back. Anybody need to pee or anything?
Not yet.
I'm doing great.
Okay.
You sound like it. Sounds great over there.
Okay. All right.
From over here.
Tendy.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You are indeed, perhaps to the surprise of no one, listening to It's Got Star Trek number 197.
That's ridiculous.
And this is our discussion of
That's what I'm saying.
Star Trek Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 7, Those Old Scientists.
Is that when he's laughing at Captain Pike?
Hey.
That's nice. It gave me an opportunity to take a little drink.
That's right.
Refresh myself just a little bit.
Star Trek Strange New World.
The opening
Prospera.
The opening scene.
We got into some of the episode.
We got the teaser out the way. The opening
It was like a teaser for this episode.
the theme music business, it was all animated. So they took the and this was probably one of the best, or at least it seemed to have the most effort involved in making a one-off adjustment to an opening sequence. Because we've seen it a couple times before. In Enterprise, when they did the Mirror Universe Enterprise episodes, they had a totally like evil version of the opening.
They didn't play that fucking song.
It was all like
They
evil
played
imagery
cool
and stuff.
music.
In Discovery, they did something.
kicking ass.
They did something similar, except it was more half-assed because they just did a negative image and upside down.
Yeah,
and I think on that, I think when we talked about that, we were like, it was like a hat on a hat because it was like, okay, they're doing both negative image and upside down. Come on,
it's super crazy.
And
Jonathan Frakes didn't direct any Discovery.
Oh, he directed tons of Discovery.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen Discovery.
Well, you should check it out.
Yeah, no, I
It's a
know.
good
I should.
show.
Yeah, I know. I should.
The fifth and last season coming up soon.
Yeah, fifth and last. How about that?
But this opening scene, I mean, one has to presume they spent some money on this and spent a good amount of time.
And you see the koala.
Yes, and there's lots of fun stuff. Not only is it animated in the Lower Deck style and looks all badass, being thusly animated, but then they have little things they drop in there. The koala is one. The other is the nacelle leech. That is again for our audience members who are not familiar with Lower Decks. In the opening of Lower Decks, there is this leech holding on to the Cerritos, the USS Cerritos, at a certain point. And they have this leech in multiple places on the Enterprise in this opening. But
I love grapplers.
But there is one interesting thing, which is when the Enterprise is near, I think it's Space Dock or something. It looks like Space Dock. The leech lets go. The leech lets go of the nacelle and floats away. And you got to wonder, is it going to nibble on the slurp on the Space Dock juices? It's like there's Easter eggs, and then there's Easter eggs that make you think. This is an Easter egg that makes you think. One of them kind of Easter eggs.
Think an egg.
A think an egg. An Easter think. Do you ever have a good Easter think, Jesse?
I try not to think about Easter.
Yeah, you don't want to think too much when you're eating chocolate, though.
Okay, cool. Animated opening, but then it goes to live action for the actual plot line.
And I was happy. I was concerned for a bit. I was like, I hope they scoop Mariner up in here, and they did, and I'm so happy. And I wanted. Okay, so here's the thing. It's good they didn't do this, but I do want to see Tendi and Rutherford. Now I wanted to see them in this episode, but I totally know why they didn't, because like
it would have been too much.
It would have been too much. So
you had to pay all those people.
Yes, you would have to pay the actors.
That's true. But I hope they make another episode. I really enjoyed this. I don't know if there was hate on this, any hate for this
I don't
episode.
think I didn't see much. It was mostly universal acclaim.
Yeah, because
I have no doubt. Of course, I'm sure there's some trolls out there.
Been like hyped up for like a year or something.
Yeah. Well, this was where it was a risk. They could have fucked this up.
Yeah.
You could have even with Jonathan Frakes, with all these actors, with all the writers, these really talented people all coming together. You still could have fucked this up.
So,
but they actually stuck this landing.
And it made me want to see another episode at some point down the line, and it'd be cool to see like Tendi and Rutherford. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah,
I agree. Maybe
but I don't know if they'd go that direction. But I don't know.
Well, they could. For example, there are other Star Trek shows potentially in the works and movies and other stuff.
They could cross over into like the Section 31.
There's all sorts of options that are out there. But yeah, this is an episode that leaves you wanting more, which is cool. It was also, you mentioned the Mariner business. I think that's an interesting way they structured this episode, because going into this, everyone sort of knew the basic outline. They were like, okay, there's going to be some time travel shit. We're going to see Boimler and Mariner. Wandering around the Enterprise, having fun. But we did not know exactly what the actual structure of the story was going to be.
They weren't having that much fun.
And what I think they have done is Mariner shows up like halfway through the episode, basically.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've broken the episode into two plots.
Right.
And that helps it fit into the Lower Decks part. This is a Strange New Worlds episode, but you get the Lower Decks flavor, because what's tricky with Lower Decks is it's a very dense, fast speaking, loud speaking. They make a joke about that. Did you notice how slow everyone talks?
Yeah. And quiet.
Because they pack so much into those 22-minute episodes, right? But if you try to double that up, that could potentially be problematic. So what they've done is they've gotten the flavor of like two Lower Decks episodes, because the first episode is Boimler. Boimler goes back and gets stuck. And then the second episode is like, oh, now you toss Mariner in the mix. It shifts everything up a little bit. It's still the same plot. They're still resolving the same plot elements, but it's kind of got its own little separate flavor now. And it's more about like, oh, we're talking to Uhura and we're talking to Una and having some more of these conversations.
I liked how Mariner, she was all into Uhura, but like when she was trying to get Uhura to party, Mariner was all giving her the business, being all like, maybe if you like listen to me and just like relax once in a while.
Right.
It's like, I don't really take breaks. It's like,
I like when the scene when they were in the conference room and Mariner's like saying some shit, like Spock. Spock says, "I'm afraid Ensign Mariner depleted the last of the supply." Mariner's like, "Well, in my defense, the thing is like I had 0 instructions," and she like squeaks her fingers along the table. But then later on in that same scene, she gets distracted and starts doing it on purpose. She's all like, and then there was the other part. Well, one of the other parts I really like when the Ortegas and is like talking about Mayweather and Hoshi's talking about Uhura's talking about Hoshi speaking 86 language, and then they realize they're like the lower deckers. I think that's the scene where then like they go to like Boimler and Mariner gives this awesome double thumbs up. It was pretty tight. It was cool. Like it was really fun to see them in that whole scenario, being like these sort of like mischievous, eager, but also
And they had all like the cartoony movements, especially Boimler. Like he did that like funny like run.
Oh yeah, the speed walking.
Like where he's like like that speed walking thing where his butt's all funny.
Yeah, the Section 31 walk.
And he did like funny like when he reached out and like poked like Pike to see if it was real. That was kind of like cartoony. Like
both Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome have talked about the effort it took. They had to work on sort of finding ways to translate their cartoon characters, which they have voiced for so long, into the physical world. I think they both did it brilliantly.
It was great.
It was really, it really helps make this episode as strong as it is that they've realized these characters in a physical format while also in some ways toning it down a little bit so it's not completely absurd. It doesn't. There's a contrast with the standard Strange New Worlds characters, but it's not so much of a contrast to be silly.
But it's still like Boimler and Mariner. Like
when Ortega's
they come through.
And then there's Nurse Chapel and Ortega's like they surround him and they're like,
"What you got there?"
and like Bourne was like, "Oh!" It was awesome. He was totally getting descended upon, and it was like he was all intimidated. He's like, "Oh my god!" It was pretty. Yeah, they did a great job. I think
they did.
Yeah, the Section 31 walk. There was a Boimler scream, which was a classic Boimler scream, which was good.
Wait, was it this one?
Try again. Maybe I think there was another one too.
There was one where he went,
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I think that's the one I think.
Hey.
Sorry.
Wait. How did that one go again?
Hey.
So stupid. Yes.
That's the best part.
This is a stupid episode we're doing.
Oh, you mean the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, this is beyond stupid at this stage. But what are we going to do? They keep squeezing out all this new Star Trek. It's difficult to squeeze it.
We gotta squeeze it.
Squeeze the old Star Trek juice flaps.
Juice flaps.
Floppy Star Trek juice flaps.
I'm aligned tonight.
Yeah, yes. She's always talking. She just can't stop talking about how she's a lantern.
I know, right? I know, right?
Well, okay. Are we going to talk about all like the Spock, like with the funny jokes and the laughing and the weird smiles and stuff, and it's freaking out Boimler.
It's freaking me out too.
It was freaking it was freaking me out too.
It was both funny and
it is surprising because she normally does not pay attention.
It was surprising. It was funny,
and it's sort of like it culminates when like they're trying to materialize that thing, and he's all like, "I'm fascinated by chance," or I'm curious about chance, and he's like, "Do you feel lucky?" There's like, "We should seek cover."
Do you feel lucky?
I think this was near the end. It was Palea. Palea says something.
Is that her name? I always forget her name. I just call her
Commander
Carol.
Palea.
She goes. They're all like finding the thing in the floor, and she's like, "Oh, careful with my floor. I use that." And Spock's like, "It's illogical to assume that you are the only one." I don't know.
I like that.
It was like hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny. Yeah, but they did that thing where what was it? What was the kind of material? Herodium?
Something like that.
Heronium. At first, I thought they were saying eronium, like it was erroneous that they had it. But then no, it's
erroneous. This is an
apparently
erroneous
the
material.
original Enterprise was made completely out of that
the
shit.
NX-01. That's convenient.
It gave you a good shade of gray.
But they did the same thing. I think it was last episode. The whole like when Boimler's like the NX-01 talking about the NX-01 and Pike's like they don't make them like that anymore, huh? And he's like, no, they do, Captain. I think I know how to get us home. They did the thing. They did that last episode with Uhura.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was exactly, but it's the thing where they mention something and they're having a normal conversation, and then one word.
I just figured it out.
Yeah, because one word or phrase in the conversation.
Well,
like,
Uhura does it later in this episode with the Nausicaan, the ancient Nausicaan stuff.
Oh yeah,
maybe that's not exactly how you're talking about, but similar literary trope.
The NX-01.
The NX-01.
Yeah, the Nausicaans.
Archer's Enterprise.
The Nausicans and the Damjat. Yeah, and then and they found the ancient language.
You play Damjat, human.
I think what did it just say? The Damjat just said something like, we're Nausicans and we play Damjat or something.
And the thing about like
this is Damjat.
Like I bet they have jetpacks, and it's like we have jetpacks. It's like, yeah, but I bet they're smaller.
Yeah.
All of this was fantastic.
It really was. I know.
Yeah.
This is a fun time.
They talked about the butterfly effect in this episode.
You
but
said butt.
I did.
Yeah, you just said butt again.
Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Butterfly effect. But then in that episde, they went for a different strategy. They didn't do the butterfly effect in tomorrow. They did the prevent the major event and everything will be all good. Time travel changing approach. Because see, there's either you change the major event and it makes the future great, which is what tomorrow did. But this one, they're all talking about the butterfly effect, which is the opposite, where any little thing you do will fuck up the whole universe. So, but it's okay. Time travel stories, we're allowed a little leeway with them because time travel never makes.
I'd say so.
Time travel never makes sense in any format ever.
It's fantastical,
especially the fun time travel.
It is fun time travel.
The fun time time travel.
Fun time time travel.
I think we will.
This is a time portal.
I think we will inevitably compare this episode to Trials and Tribulations, right? The Deep Space Nine crossover, which was like the Forrest Gump style crossover.
You mean Trials and Tribulations?
Yes, Trials. Yes, thank you. Please. No, you're right. You're right. No, this is you. You are helping us avoid.
Are we saying the same thing?
We are saying basically the same thing. Hold on, I forgot. It's been so long since you've corrected me that I forgot. I'm supposed to there's
Do you have a sound file that's super awesome that's gonna make my pants fly off?
Hold on,
and I'm gonna go crazy.
It's gonna blow your pants.
Whoa.
Dan got it right.
Whoa.
Dan got it right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it took a little while.
Holograms?
Dan got it right again. This guy.
This is me.
He knows how to do it.
I know how to party.
Okay.
Star Trek, Strange New World.
Where did you get that drop?
Which drop?
The fucking drop. No, not that drop.
Dan's curious.
Hologram.
Dan's curious. That's the one for if you have a question about something.
Okay.
Chivo Brian.
So wait, what was the other one?
Dan has a question.
Not that one.
What was the other one?
The funky one.
Well, your question was what was the other one?
The other one, the first one you played, the
one.
funky one.
But you got to say something that's correct first to activate it.
Correct.
I like the color forest green.
Dan is right.
How did you know that was correct?
Holograms?
I mean, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
For the sake
I wouldn't
of
lie.
humor.
This isn't some Monty Python movie, Yeah.
That's correct. This is not a Monty Python movie.
You're not that kind of guy. You're not that kind of guy.
Holograms?
Booger Factory.
Hologram.
So far
Chief
gone.
O'Brien.
So far gone from my point. I have no chance of navigating back to it.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. I did have some notes here. We were talking something related to Star Trek.
It was boring. I hated it.
Strange New
Just
Worlds.
kidding. I didn't hate it.
No, we loved it. We loved it too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a love letter to Star Trek fans, as they say.
Like, Boimler knows how to track the Orions, but they don't want to.
I did.
They
I love
do that thing where like, okay, we just won't look. It's like we can just do that. Right?
Just don't look.
That was a funny joke.
He's all like, he's like has some like cables he's all stringing together, and it's so crazy.
Jesse's reminded me because I was talking about trials and tribulations, and that's why I had to play the thing because you were correct. So I had to play the riff, the Dan is correct riff.
Holograms?
Allegedly.
The Trials and Tribulations is also a time travel thing. It also, it introduces the whole time cops business, right? Which we've already
a lot.
But it also had a little bit more fun where it was like, okay, Cisco and Dax and everybody, they have their mission. They got to like protect the timeline. And that's clearly important because if they don't, everything is fucked up and disappears. But at the same time, everyone's acting all cavalier about it. And that's the same thing that's happening here, right? Whereas in Tomorrow, as you noted, and other time travel episodes, everyone's like, oh shit, this is some fucked up serious shit that we have to deal with. But in Trials and Tribulations, in Those Old Scientists, and in a few other sort of similar whimsical time travel ones, they have a little bit more fun with it. And then there's that weird, in Deep Space Nine's past tense two-parter, that is as serious as an episode as you can get. That is an episode that people keep talking about now because it references 2024 with homelessness encampments and rise of fascist governments and corporate overlords. It's this hugely intense, depressing, prophetic episode, yet at the same time it has a few of those scenes with O'Brien and Kira time traveling.
Chief O'Brien?
They're trying to find the right timeline, and they're all like bumping into hippies and like
Bavana's on it.
and it's just like it's completely ridiculous.
And that console, everybody's got a console. It's all huge.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Don't touch the buttons.
You said console.
I know.
You said
I like that.
You said console.
I'll touch whatever fucking buttons
You said
I want.
console. I have a list of bad things that not bad as in it wasn't. Okay.
You mean bad as in Michael Jackson's the album Bad?
I mean Boimler fucking up the time protection. Boimler protecting the Bible vision. When Boimler was revealing secrets, giving future spoilers. He gave a whole bunch of future spoilers.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I was talking about. They're handling this time travel stuff whimsically because even Pike at one point is like, I'd like to say no, but sure, fuck it, why not? And it's like, I don't know. I think maybe you should not be so like cavalier with these people.
I feel like the way they were kind of like appealing to Pike's ego. It seemed like. I mean, Pike was.
Oh, they definitely were. And it was totally working.
And he was trying to pretend like it wasn't working, but it was working.
He would have been a big name in history.
So that's the thing. So I think this is just. I didn't think to do this until about 10 or 15 minutes in, but so Boimler freaking out over Uhura.
That was a long time ago.
Like freaking
10 or 15 minutes into this podcast?
There were into the episode that we were watching.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They were talking about how NCC 1701-nothing. That's a future spoiler.
What would come after that?
Talking about Ortegas as a war hero. Well,
Ortegas also fought during the Klingon War, which precedes the events in this show.
Well, she didn't know that would result in her being remembered as a war hero.
Sure. Not just yeah.
Boimler revealing that the Orion vessel is peaceful. That was a future spoiler. Boimler referring to it as the golden age of exploration with Ortegas and Chapel. He was like, this is the golden age of exploration. Mm-hmm. The thing about a spoiler is different to every person. Some people feel that spoilers are simply things that reveal any part of the story.
What classifies as a spoiler, not the impact of a spoiler.
Yeah, right. So some people are spoilers is just the ending. But if you even if you say the twist, I won't tell you what the twist at the end is. That's to me that's kind of a spoiler. It's fine. I've learned to live with it. But different people have different levels of spoilage.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they would consider this future spoiler. Boimler's talking about Spock being legendary for never smiling. But that's a trait of all Vulcans. So I don't know why that would make.
But
in this context,
there's plenty of Leonard Nimoy as Spock smiling.
Yeah,
that's one of those things.
So right, and
it's not in the history books, but we've seen it on television.
And even if he was legendary for never smiling, that's just a Vulcan trait in general. So it's I don't know. They're talking about
Spock is known as a Vulcan, but this is young Spock. This is everybody
young hot Spock.
They're going They're going back to they're seeing their heroes, but their heroes are all in their sort of nascent stage.
Well, even Spock mentions that he says presumably whatever I have to do now is going to result in the person that you remember from the history books. So basically saying even if you see me smiling now, that's probably not going to make it into the history books. So yeah.
Everybody's really young.
Future spoiler is talking about Tendy's great-grandparent being on the Orion ship. Future spoiler.
Some of that was necessary, though.
I was talking about, I think this was to Pike. Oh, yeah, Pike, when he's talking about diplomacy is one of his many strengths, and that he has patience, forgiveness, benevolence, and really great hair. Like, he's remembered for that. Just how much they generally gush over the entire crew. But, I mean, you could just write that off as they're just like, they're just, being all, like, fanboyish.
Yeah.
But, I mean, still, that's still kind of like, I mean, I don't know. Because they're back in time, I guess you could say they're excited.
Gotta get back in time.
Marin says Mariner says Mariner says everyone tells Uhura that everyone like knows who she is. Marin, this is a questionable spoiler, but it goes along with what I was talking about. Mariner doesn't name the aliens that Uhura meets, but she mentions that Uhura meets all these crazy aliens. So that's like, oh, I guess I'm going to meet a bunch of crazy aliens.
She doesn't mention the fan dance from Star Trek V.
No.
Like the palm leaf dance.
Oh, this was a big one when Pike was like, I heard that you've been encouraging my crew to throw me a surprise party. Please stop doing that. And Boimler says, he's like, it's just, you never know how many birthdays you have left. You know? And like, right now your friends want to celebrate you while you still can. And it's like, it's basically saying you're gonna die, you know?
Yeah. And it was funny because then like he was like, well, I know what's coming, and they were like, what? Wait. And like Beckett was like miming some stuff.
She's
like,
miming the chair and the scar on his face. She's all like, you mean the
Oh, I didn't
right. She mimes like the chair
I didn't
and then
even
like
catch that.
and then the scar on the face.
I didn't even catch that.
Oh,
That's
it's
fucking
great.
funny. And then just Boimler spilling the beans about the ad aspera per aspera. Even when Boimler was talking about the classic TS-122 tricorder to Mbenga,
it's like, no, it's
the 120. Mbenga has the 120. So now Mbenga knows there's going to be a TS-1.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have probably figured that out, but still,
yes.
you know, the TI-83 calculator went up to it was TI-85 and then TI-83.
No, we had an TI-82.
Well, TI-82.
Then it went to a TI-83.
I think that 5 came out before the 3.
I didn't keep track of these things.
I didn't either.
I only had a 2 and an 82
was there a
TI-83.
TI-84? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I don't know about that. What I do know is in an episode that is filled with funny lines, great writing, great improvisations, by the way. Both Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid did a lot of that kind of like improvisation. There's so much funny stuff in this. Yeah. Long story short, there's so much funny stuff in this. But to me, the funniest line in this entire episode was when Boimler is saying like, and they had less, they were like arguably less likely to explode. Yeah. And then Mbenga says, "Explode, you say?"
Yeah, and then they just
with like this perfect fucking timing.
Yeah, and they just like move on and they throw it.
And it's like, even like talked over a little bit, and it's like a lower deck style joke.
Right.
But just the timing and the look on his face, it was just brilliant. And in with so many like overtly humorous and subtly humorous things, that was one of the most subtle and also one of the funniest.
And the whole reason I brought up the TI-83, 4, 5 thing is because, like, I don't remember a TI-84, so maybe they could have skipped TS-122. Maybe it would have been, like, the TI-80 calculators and it would have been TS-120, a 121, and maybe there would have been a 123, just like there was a TI-83 and an 85, but no 84. So, you know, it's kind of like, now we know there's officially gonna be a TS-122.
It's a lot of fucking algebra.
Which tech fanboys would be like, oh, we know what it's called now, you know, but Mbenga doesn't seem like a tech fanboy. He just seems like a badass.
Yeah, man.
We're talking about tech fans.
Mbenga's pretty badass. That is true.
Is this a new thing?
I think so.
Holy Q.
That's
whoa, that was weird.
That's the riff
Hologram.
for it's like, what the fuck is Dan talking about? Bringing up new concepts. New concept Dan.
New concept Dan.
Tech fanboys. Tech fanboys, which I presume I interpret to mean Star Trek fans who like talking about the technology.
Or any kind of
It's just that the way you said it seemed to have a slightly pejorative slant.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
I just want to make sure because we don't. I like technology. I like the technology.
I like technology.
Holograms.
Holograms.
I like holograms.
Holograms.
Jesse's right.
That was true.
Holograms?
It worked out.
Hologram.
Yeah, it's a break time again. We should take another break, and then
Number 1.
Then we can conclude this.
Jesse, do you need to?
Number 1.
No, I don't. I'm still good. I haven't had enough fluids.
Well, nevertheless, we will take a break, and then here's what we've done. This has been a bit of a ridiculous episode of podcast episode.
It's going to get more ridiculous.
No, here's what we're going to do. What we've done is this has all been on purpose. And
On purpose?
On purpose.
And we're saving all the...
How did the dolphin do the thing in the ocean? He did it on purpose. I don't know the rest. I don't know how the joke's supposed to go.
It's good you got that in before the break, because the next segment is where we've saved all of our really cogent and interesting points and the funniest jokes and the most interesting observations. We've saved that all for this last segment of the show, which will be coming up right after this break. So any other goofy nonsense, squeeze it in right now before we go to break.
Hey.
All right. We will...
Hey.
People listen to this at work. We will be right back.
Bilana's on it.
Okay.
I don't even know if this episode we're doing is listenable.
We're back. Oh yeah, no, it's listenable.
People love it, man.
Or you could just get to the point.
In the strictest sense of the term. Yeah. Well, next episode, I shouldn't say next week because it'll be coming up probably sooner than that.
Worf's Honor.
Under the Cloak of War is all super serious and dark. It's a great episode, but super serious and dark. So we'll have all sorts of clever stuff to say about that. But we have saved all the clever stuff for this episode, for this segment, this final segment, the concluding segment of the It's Got Star Trek podcast episode.
Sneaky boy me.
There's still a bit more to touch on.
197. So, cogent, interesting point number 1 that I'd like to make.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Is that I did think that this episode did a good job of sort of blending the Lower Decks style, both humor and story structure, and the Strange New World style.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I thought was great about this is, while yes, it was a humorous episode and there was a lot of humor to be had in this episode, it still had meaningful character growth, particularly for the Strange New Worlds characters, because it is their show. Mm-hmm. The Lower Decks folks are coming in, and maybe there's a little less character growth on their end. A little bit, though.
You still had a bit where, like, Boimler realizes that he was taking things from the wrong approach.
Exactly. You know? So there's a little bit there. But on the Strange New Worlds side, you have so many of the ongoing storylines and character beat arcs that have been addressed. So you had Spock and Chapel.
Spock and Chapel.
Uhura, like, working all the time.
Uhura being overworked and having to learn
relax.
How to relax a little bit. And it's cool that Mariner played some small role in that, because Uhura's friends were not able to successfully influence her, but Mariner came in and was like, I'll get you drunk off of some Orion business.
Sneaky boy me.
Pike being, like, wary about his future because he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He doesn't know when it's going to happen.
And Pike and his dad, adding some flavor to the Pike and his dad business, and having a really touching scene. I thought it was for folks who haven't watched Lower Decks, these touching moments that they had. You see this all the time on Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Lower Decks is goofy and funny in a lot of ways, but it tells serious Star Trek stories, and often with a great deal of empathy and pathos and very good writing. And this was not at all out of character for Boimler, who can be very silly a lot of the times, but in the end can really make a very clear point, like he does to Pike. Like he almost hits Pike in the face with it. Pike is all like, I want to go have this resolution with my ghost dad. And Boimler's like, dude, you're the dad of this crew, and you can't be running off when they need you.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just very nicely constructed.
Yeah. He's lucky that Pike already knew about his fate, though, because I will say, like,
oh yeah, that would have been awkward otherwise.
I mean, even Uhura was like, how am I supposed to have fun when I know I have to become this universally known, super translating, unflappable, hardworking?
It seemed like she was the most blown away by that. She was like, I just can't handle this. Like, everybody else was like already sort of established as a Starfleet officer, and they're like, okay, I guess I could be a hero in the future. Or
she's a newly minted ensign.
She's like just getting started. And she's like, listen, I can't handle that at all.
In addition to that, they even briefly touched on La'an's time travel with alternate Kirk thing, because
this is a time portal.
La'an is giving Boimler advice early on in the episode. She's like, don't make connections, don't fall in love or whatever. Well, really, but that's the thing is she's going over the regular stuff, and then he's like, wait, what was that last one about? Like, don't make personal connections or whatever.
He's like, wait, what?
and he figures out, he intuits that she has had some personal experience in this. So that one is referenced. And then
Boimler is really tall. At least in live action.
Jack
Quaid is a tall fellow. He was towering over Lon.
And he's a great actor.
First time I saw him was in The Boys. I
he's
thought
in
it was
The Boys. He's in Scream 5.
No, I didn't know that.
He's very good. And I've seen him play a range of characters. So he does a great job in the character of Boimler in Lower Decks and
absolutely
and here.
Tawny Newsome was in Space Force that only went on 2 seasons.
I'm a big fan of Tawny Newsome.
That's a good one.
That was the first time I saw her was in Space Force. I was like, who is that?
Is that still going? Did that get canceled?
Got canceled.
Oh. I saw her in Bajillion Dollar Properties.
Which I wish it got more episodes, but like it wasn't doing a whole lot of movement, but I was still enjoying it.
Bajillion Dollar Properties has 4 seasons. And
Bajillion Dollar Properties.
Bajillion Dollar Properties, in addition to having Tawny Newsome, also has Paul F. Tompkins, who plays Dr. Miglimoo.
Miglimoo.
Yes, and Eugene Cordero.
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah, Eugene Cordero. Eugene Cordero plays Ensign Rutherford. So it's got him. It's got Ensign Rutherford, Eugene Cordero, and probably some other people too. Anyway, Bajillion Dollar Properties.
Not Ensign Roquefort.
No, not Ensign Roquefort.
Crumb hat.
Wait, hold on.
Hologram.
Hologram. That's my favorite one.
Hologram.
Okay, yeah, Star Trek. We were talking about the business. Una also, her storyline is also touched on.
Mm-hmm. What were you saying, Jesse?
Well, I was going to say Boimler and Mariner try to steal that shuttle, and they get caught, and they get like,
and they're always trying to steal shuttles on Lower Decks. They're always trying to steal shuttles.
That's a very Lower Decks thing, but like they get
Hi.
Okay, they're like, as far as I know, they're the first 2 people to get called to Captain Pike's quarters for a dressing down in the whole series of Strange New Worlds.
They get scolded by him while he's making dinner.
That's not something that happens in Strange New Worlds. Nobody ever does that shit, but it happens in Lower Decks.
And it was awesome that he was making dinner because it seemed even more intimidating.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's intimidating if Dad's got his apron on and he's like chopping vegetables.
I know, it's like a total power move, you know.
And more specifically, I think what makes it even more interesting and more impactful is that it's not just that Pike is cooking, but that Pike stops cooking when he sends La'an away. Pike is like, okay, I'm going to talk to them alone, and then he like takes off his apron. It's almost like your dad taking off his belt or something.
Yeah,
you're like, oh man, he's stopping doing the thing he loves.
Yeah,
which is cooking. And he's going to scold me. And then if there's that great line from Mariner saying like, put it all on me because I don't think Boimler could handle being thrown in the brig by a guy he dressed up as for Halloween.
Yeah.
Which was another in the long series of subtly and not so subtly pointing out the hero worship and taking advantage of the hero worship. Yeah.
Sneaky boy me.
Oh, Tendy.
They do the thing where Palia has talking about she does the whole fake it until you make it speech.
Who was what?
Cary Grant.
That's
a Cary Grant line.
I know I had heard that. I didn't know.
Yeah,
it was like George Washington.
Cary Grant famously said that he said, I pretended to be somebody I wanted to be until I finally became that person. Or he became me. But he had like a rough upbringing, I think, Cary Grant, and so he had had a positive outlook on life after he got success.
I understand the utility of the fake it until you make it philosophy because, everyone there's the whole imposter syndrome, and I get it. It's like nobody knows what they're doing. You just have to do your best. But I feel like some people pervert that philosophy and just will just do whatever the fuck, and they're terrible at it, and they just pretend they know like everything they're doing. And when you point out something wrong, they're like, "No, this is how it's supposed to go." They like, and so
middle managers.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's fine, but everything's gonna break. No, it's fine. I don't want to have to tell my bosses that something's not going to work right, but we're going to have to eventually. Nah, I'll be gone by then.
I'll be promoted out.
I'll be out of
but
here.
I'll be Peter Principled out
so
here.
I think fake it till you make it is great and all, and it's wonderful. But I think some people take it a little too literally. But that's just a personal thing of me. If you want to learn a little bit about me,
What about shake it, don't break it?
One of the things people. I shake it a lot.
What about
I shake it a lot.
what about
You shake it a lot.
Quit it.
I shake it. I hope I'm.
Hologram. Holograms?
Sabotage.
Why would we even do a podcast? It's ridiculous. This is such a ridiculous concept of a couple of people getting together and having a podcast.
This has been a circus cast.
Sabotage.
What even is that? What's a fucking podcast?
Chief O'Brien.
I was driving my mother-in-law to the train station today.
You're damn right.
And she said, "What's a podcast?"
Oh.
And I was like,
I bet that was a hilarious trip.
Yeah,
I
those
was
are
thinking about that earlier.
It's kind of hard to explain that to certain people.
Podcast.
Train station. Where were they going?
I don't know, New York or something like that. Okay, podcast.
Does anyone else feel strange?
We do. Yes, I do.
Rebecca. Does she still
Rebecca
go by?
Romaine.
She's Rebecca Romaine now.
Yes.
Now, yes, that's
It's
been
not,
a long time.
It's not spelled the same way as the lettuce.
No, it's got a J.
But it sounds the same as the lettuce.
I couldn't remember when she dropped the Stamos. I don't remember what.
Quite some time ago.
Yeah,
it was
a while ago.
divorced.
Yeah,
Same
a while
as
ago.
she married Jerry O'Connell in 2007. Jerry O'Connell, who plays Commander Ransom. So another subtle Easter egg is when Commander Ransom at the end of the episode
hottest first officer
refers to Una as the hottest first officer in Starfleet. He's referring to his own wife.
Oh,
and
snap.
as a bonus fun time, it's got Star Trek Easter egg. Mr. Jerry O'Connell follows us on Twitter.
Right on.
Thank you.
Or an X or whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh yeah,
by the
my
time
icon on my
you
phone
hear this.
changed. Rebecca Romaine, she gives this very melodic delivery sometimes. Like she went.
I don't want to know.
Do you think that?
And
then did she like the granddaughter of Caesar Romero? No, that doesn't work.
I don't know. Think that joke.
Caesar salad. Caesar salad Romero.
Think through that joke and then get back to me in a second.
Romaine.
So I was talking about her delivery, which is
the melodic delivery. Yes.
Yeah, no, you raised your hand, you're like, oh my god.
Hologram.
You waved your hand like you're like, yeah, whatever. Whatever.
No, I want to hear more about this because I really enjoy Rebecca Romaine's portrayal.
I don't want to know.
Yes.
Yeah, so there was that one. Oh my god.
Dan feels right.
That was a correct statement.
Super correct.
I don't want to know.
Yes. It was like it did sound like a chicken, but on purpose. There's a chicken-esque. Is that there's like Romanesque?
Yeah, kind of
like there's Romanesque and then there's chicken-esque.
And so then here's this other one she does in this episode.
Chicken cacciatore, am I right?
This is another one she does in this episode. She goes,
Does anyone else feel strange?
see, she's like, my name.
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel strange? I don't want to know.
It's all like she's like singing.
But
she's singing.
But what did she think that poster was? She was like,
Does anyone
it was
else
a
feel
pinup
poster
poster, but
she thought it was boobies.
But did
I
she?
don't need
Did she
a
pose
cookie.
for a pinup poster? And that's
No.
where, like, or was it just
Well, they got-
computer generated?
They got Photoshop and shit.
Sabotage.
Sabotage.
That's what I told him.
There's another one. That's from last episode.
That's what I told him. That's what I told him.
Does anyone else feel strange?
See?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You see what I'm saying?
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want to know.
Righteous. Absolutely correct.
Chief O'Brien.
Chief O'Brien coming at you. This is Chief
Balana's
O'Brien.
on it.
Balana is indeed on it.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus.
Holy Q.
They're so fun. They're all so great.
They're so fun. Lon loves grapplers.
Lon loves grapplers.
Yeah, that's
Another
good.
that was the second in line. Number one for me is Dr. Mbenga saying "explode," you say, and then number two is Lon sort of sheepishly saying,
Yeah.
"I love grapplers."
I love grapplers. Yeah.
And then that made me think of Grappler Zorn.
She's got a lot of good lines in this episode.
In Encounter at Farpoint.
Right.
Yeah, Lon does very well. Lon as a character, and
she shines.
Christina Chung is, of course, great at portraying her, but Lon as a character is such a great straight person in comedy. She's just, the character is set up to be such an excellent straight person.
Yeah.
We talked, I think I mentioned before, Setlik 2 must be near Setlik 3. The reason I mentioned that is because that's where a bunch of Cardassians supposedly killed a bunch of colonists, and O'Brien killed a bunch of Cardassians, and there's Benjamin Maxwell. And so,
Benjamin Button.
Chief O'Brien?
Yeah, no. Benjamin Button was not involved, but this was Chief O'Brien.
Benjamin Button, fuck that shit.
Holograms. Hologram.
Shadowplay
generator.
Fucked up shit.
Shadowplay. You're reminding me to remind our audience, particularly the new audience, the people who join in, the audience numbers always go up when there's new episodes of Star Trek on. But it's a reminder that you should all go scroll back a little bit, listen to our episode on Deep Space Nine Shadowplay. I think that's a great episode of the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, man.
Future Boy did it.
I don't remember what number it was.
Which episode? The DS9 one?
Yeah, Shadowplay.
Yeah, you've talked about that before.
I think it's a good episode.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other good episodes of the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
I should listen to. I don't know.
There's past tense.
I don't know if I've listened to that episode.
Past tense. Yeah, past tense is super old. We get better over time. But there's like little peaks.
I hope we get better over
We
time.
seem to keep talking about it because it always pops up in the algorithm.
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, it's been a while since we've been on the algorithm because there's been so many new episodes of Star Trek.
I know.
So there's another thing that
we're going to be like
new listeners. New listeners don't know about the algorithm. Dan has a bespoke algorithm that helps us pick episodes to discuss when there's not new Star Trek on. It picks old Star Trek.
It picks past tense.
Yeah, it often picks past tense.
No, that's a bummer. I wish I had a not helpful button, but I have a
helpful
button. I have this button.
Don't look.
That's not going to help.
Explode, you say?
Explode, you say? Spock is like, there's this little thing about Spock, laughing like we talked about. And I guess it's just
like telling a joke.
Yeah, I guess this is just a hangover from him being like full on human for a while, plus
like he's kind of trying to do it.
And combined with his new found relationship with Chapel, I guess.
I would say that this is a potential weakness in this episode, is that this story point I think is a little underexplained. And while we sometimes complain about too much exposition being a little too, on the nose and explaining stuff the audience can figure out on their own, they do imply strongly here that Chapel and he have had some sort of conversation where he's compelled to try to act a little bit more human, to interact with her more because of the events in a previous episode. Okay. I think there's enough there for us to figure that out. But it is a little confusing at a couple points because you're like, wait, whoa, this seems to be coming out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. It's not. It just kind of is a little bit seems like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on to your butts.
Introducing the tradition of putting a part from the previous ship in the ship, I think was
the NX-01.
The
NX-01.
That was neat.
I like when they.
It was a weird little bit that they put in there, though.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was going to be like a square hunk of metal.
Yeah,
exactly.
The path to which they found that discovery was
like test tube or something.
Was like I mentioned before, has been done before many times, but like the actual solution of finding that new lore, like you mentioned, that was cool. It was cool. I was into that in a big way.
I like that Boimler's always getting tangled in things, and he gets tangled in something here when he was like working on the consoles.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's something that happens on lower decks a lot.
And their uniforms in live action look like a little goofier.
Yeah,
everything is a little bit goofier.
Yeah, because like the whole animation to like live action, it throws my brain off for a second. Like I said, when they first flew through the time tunnel into live action, I was like, wow, that's weird.
I did like the uniforms. I did think that the black part was a little lower.
Yeah, it was like more of it or something.
Not to be anal.
It was like floppier.
It seemed like it should have been the line, like the horizontal line where the black meets the color. it seemed like it was lower down their chest and shoulders.
Yeah, it
than
was
in
bigger.
in the lower decks.
There was more.
What was the TOS episode where they were wearing like some kind of like
those old scientists?
When it was like they were all getting sick or something was happening. They had to wear like super suits and they had different like multicolored
tubes
like,
and
tubes
stuff?
going all like that looked like they glued onto the suit. That were,
I mean,
they were all irregular. None of the suits like looked the same.
I think you've described like 5 different episodes of TOS,
Yeah, right.
but
yeah.
Nevertheless,
I like it.
The point has been received.
No.
I did have one question though. It was another aspect of the episode that did confuse me a little bit. Was this whole thing of the Orions getting credit for discovering this portal?
Yeah, I was confused about that too.
Because like the Enterprise was there first, and then the Orions
Right.
showed up second. Is the implication that the Orions were there before, and then they're like coming back?
Yeah, I wasn't
Maybe.
sure what was going on there.
Or is the implication that this is some sort of weird white lie where they're like, we'll give it to the Orions because like we don't want to be assholes?
I think I feel like it was presented as if it was some kind of paradox. It's like they discovered it first because like didn't Boimler like
No, because Boimler came through and Spock and them were already there. They were
Right,
standing there
but-
waiting for them.
but
They had
the- but
already
at
been
the-
scanning the joint.
Yeah, but at the end, Boimler didn't like. Okay, hold on. This line from he goes, "That's all I ever wanted." That's
Isn't that a Billie Eilish song?
Yes.
maybe. Oh, Pike said, "How about this? You let us use the portal, and as far as history is concerned, Orion's discover it." And then the Orion was like, "That's all I ever wanted." And so Pike. It was like they made a deal. It seemed like.
Oh, so was that the trade?
That was the trade, I guess.
Okay, because that was the other part. Maybe that helps make it a little bit more sense.
They
'Cause
traded the wheat.
And so
they're trading the
and
wheat
so
for
it is
saying they discovered it.
It is kind of like a paradox situation because the only reason it went down like that was because Boimler went back in time. If Boimler hadn't gone back in time, it would
Gotta get back
presumably
in time.
wouldn't. So it was a paradox. So Boimler is the
Yeah.
reason that they discovered it
It's
first,
paradox,
which is what
a paradox.
And Boimler was
a most ingenious
and
paradox.
Boimler was questioning Tendy. He was like, I don't know about that, but it was because of him that it was true. So yeah, it was weird. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. I don't know.
For real.
For real.
I don't know
A
about
ha
any
ha
of those
ha ha
business.
ha ha ha. A pair of socks.
A pair of socks.
A pair of socks. A pair of socks. The most ingenious pair
of
This is
socks.
when we get a little.
A pair of socks.
Musical reference.
Does anyone else feel strange?
So that end bit was cool.
It was boring. Go away.
What?
That was from the end bit when they got all animated, right?
Which part? Oh, the.
Does anyone else
Yeah,
feel
that was.
strange?
Yeah, it was.
They're sipping on like real Orion liquor.
Juice.
So I'll play
Yeah.
a 20-second clip of SNW in LD mode.
Okay.
And it was
SNWLD mode.
Yes, and so this is back to what I was saying at the beginning of the episode about how when they're animated versus not, the sound is a little different. So
yeah.
this is how I
We
feel.
need to touch
So
on
this is
that
in
a
lower
little.
decks. Just 20 seconds from that last scene, and keeping in mind, to me, it sounds different than the live action audio quality.
When we shouted surprise, you didn't seem very surprised.
Come on, number one, I knew. That's why I canceled my fishing trip. Someone reminded me that maybe I should celebrate with my friends.
Okay, next month for movie night, I'm programming an Endorian comedy.
Turns out the secret to getting Uhura to relax is making it feel like work.
I believe you are going to be her next project, Lieutenant.
God help me.
It sounds a little different, you know. I was talking about the same thing when they had a Quark on an episode of Lower Decks. Didn't they have Quark on
But
an
you
episode
didn't.
of
You don't
Lower
have the
Decks?
part where she was like, "Are my eyes bigger?" or something. Like,
Oh yeah, I didn't want to like put the whole scene, so I just picked one where everyone talked.
What they
almost
sounded
everyone
like is they all sounded like they were talking on ISDN lines from their home basements in like Colorado and
the,
other places.
The actor that plays Chapel like almost sounded Australian.
She is Australian.
Yeah, because she is Australian, but it came.
You mean
through,
Jess Bush?
It came through a little bit more when she started
great.
speaking because she was pretending to be drunk.
Oh, she was pretending to be drunk, so she was all like, nah.
She was like slowing it down,
No.
like so her natural accent came through.
Interesting.
I guess.
Well, we
So
can
what's
get
it?
that's I hadn't noticed that. I'm going to listen to the episode again. We can reach out to
It
our
was
friends.
it was only at the beginning, and then it went back to her nurse.
We can reach out to our Tasmanian friends on the unplanned trek. Unplanned trek.
Hi.
And they can let us know whether or not they heard a return to Jess Bush's natural.
It was only like
native
in the first like couple syllables.
Aussie accent.
It was very subtle.
All right.
This was a weird sound cut.
You're weird.
It seemed like the sound quality changed. Now, yeah, okay. Maybe like I just got a weird. Maybe my clip I didn't. I don't know what was weird.
Oh my God. They never improved on these. I mean,
doesn't that sound different?
Oh my God. They never improved on these. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I thought
maybe that was worthless.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought you were going to go into the punchline and have it be like, oh my God, Becky, look at her butt.
Oh. That's funny you thought that I would go in that exact direction.
Well, you kept playing it, and sometimes, for the audience, like, we're seeing Dan here. I'm
really
looking at him
old
live, and from his body language, I cannot always tell when he's just sort of earnestly, doing something, or if he's setting up some sort of clever joke, vaudevillian or otherwise.
It's the best part.
The flipping it open's the best part.
It's the best part.
Crumb hat, do you?
It truly is.
Yeah, so that would have been funny if I was on your exact wavelength and picked that exact clip. But now,
you weren't, because you were out of town having fun without us.
Yeah.
Doing missions and
in
stuff.
a weird state.
Yeah.
Weird state.
One of those weird places.
But maybe not. We won't mention. It's a secret.
It's a secret.
An extensive discussion.
Maybe it's perfectly normal
of the location and the local fauna.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
The attack of the local fauna.
You got attacked by local fauna?
No, got attacked by bats.
Oh, that's right.
I thought that Pike's haircut in this episode, we've commented before that.
How can you not comment on Pike's haircut every episode?
Because it seems to keep changing.
It was a little,
it's like a little stuck.
more subdued this episode.
Well, here's the thing. I think it looked like
they commented on it.
I think it looked like Dahl from Prodigy, right? From Star Trek Prodigy.
I was thinking
in this
you were talking
episode
about
in
the band.
particular,
I was thinking about you talking about the band The Prodigy, and I was like, who's Dahl?
The people with the Firestarter song.
Yeah,
that dude died.
Which guy?
The singer guy.
Well, the singer guy is not
usually the singer.
It's like some other dude makes all the music. That singer guy apparently was just a dancer, and then they turned him into a singer or something. I don't know his full story.
He has expired.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
It was a couple years ago.
That's a downer. We can talk about other people who died.
Wait. You think
Everybody.
that balances out?
Everybody died.
You got surprised. You learned somebody died, and so you're like, okay, the way to counteract is to talk about a bunch of other people who died.
Oh, Tendy.
Well, okay. I just think that if you look at this particular episode, and then if you look at screenshots of Dahl, the character of Dahl, the main character ostensibly from Star Trek Prodigy, there are similarities in the hairstyles. And I was wondering maybe Dahl has some Pike DNA in him. Could be. I don't know. I couldn't say with any
Pike
certainty.
Got around.
Hologram.
Not necessarily, Jesse. It could have been taken, the DNA taken from like a hair strand, a hair follicle or something like that. All right. I think that was that. Oh, and the last thing I was going to mention is that it's so silly. They've done it a few times, I think, on the show, but where they have it's like the sound of a microphone, a microwave ding or a toaster ding. Like when they were cooking up the chemicals, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's funny.
it's got all the Star Trek beeps and boops and then it was all like ding, like a 1950s microwave or 1970s microwave, something along those lines. Anyway, that's something to look up.
They call their badges deltas.
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
I've heard that before.
I've never heard that.
All right.
I'm sorry, you were going to make a point, Patrick?
No, we're both just, you've heard about something and you have not heard about
Jesse,
something.
have you heard that?
And I have heard about that.
Have you heard that?
I don't believe I have.
That means I win.
Dan wins.
Hologram.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I have not anything else to say about this particular episode.
And is that a classic TS-122 tricorder?
It's good. It's good. This is an instant classic. People will go back and watch this a bunch of times. I'm going to go back and watch. I've already seen it 3 or 4 times. I can't even remember how many times I've seen it. And I'm going to go back and watch because you guys made points that I didn't catch. And then I'm listening to other podcasts.
Look at us.
Listen to Open Pike Night. They're saying, I'm like, I didn't see that. I got to go back and watch the episode. Boom.
I like it.
All right.
Worf's honor.
Worf's honor.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other odds and ends? Any other bits and pieces before we do the concluding?
Bits and pieces. Is this a new segment?
No, it's not.
It's odds and ends.
It's another way to say odds and ends.
It's a lot.
Nicks and knacks.
Nicks and knacks. Doodlies and poodlies. Nooks and crannies.
Nooks and crannies.
Did I ever tell you I used to think nooks and crannies was a type of food?
Yes.
Like you were two types of foods. You had nooks and you had crannies.
Like you poured them.
Because crannies are like cranberries or something.
Yeah, you
thought cranberries.
You thought it was built into
cranberries. We were talking about people who were dying. That remember the singer of the Cranberries died a while ago.
Yeah. And you talked about the Cranberries last week.
The band?
Yeah, you said I said something that sounded like it was said by the lead singer of the Cranberries, and then you said the Cranberries.
The Cranberries. Yeah. Dolores O'Riordan.
Zombie. Dolores O'Riordan.
O'Riordan.
She's passed.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But we have not yet passed. We are still here. We plan to be here for a little while longer.
That's at least another 30 years.
Oh, I was going to say at least another like 5 or 6 episodes. I just like I want to get past 200 because we've been talking so much about this fucking 200th episode. Like point number one is we gotta get to 200.
We should troll everybody and end on 199 and not tell anyone and just never release it. Then 15
we talked
years,
about that last episode.
15 years from now, release it or something.
Yeah.
Or we could.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we were like, that's enough podcast.
Did we talk?
We don't need to do anymore.
You're right. We did talk about that.
I think we should at least get to like 2 or 3 or something, and then we can like have a big on-air fight, and then be like,
yeah, it's like,
fuck you guys.
We're not doing this anymore.
Star Trek sucks. We're gonna go watch Star Wars now.
Oh man! Do you know how we keep that from happening?
Orion Hurricanes.
All right, so we are going to wind things up here and mix us up a few Orion Hurricanes, whatever those are.
They look cool.
They do look cool.
Well, they look better in the live action. It was green in the cartoon version. It had like some pink. Like,
I bet there's
dribbly.
What was that drink that that Data made for Troy that he clicked
like
it?
Sunrise.
Yeah, the sunrise, the
sunrise,
the Jasmodian sunrise,
Jasmodian.
I forget. Aldarin.
For Troy.
Aldarin. All right. Well, Dan looks that up.
Sumerian sunset.
We didn't even have the fucking sunrise. Dan looked it up. Holograms. Shadow play. Okay, so Dan looked it up quicker than I had expected. So I was bringing up my notes here. Okay, end of podcast notes.
I was right.
Social media.
Thanks for listening.
I was right about Sumerian sunset.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't right about it. You looked it up.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't called a Jasmodium sunrise.
I mean, it's pretty fucking close, if you ask me. Like, in the world of Star Trek, it's pretty fucking close. But yes, what do we have to do? We have to do the social media. We're on all sorts of social media.
Hey.
We're on all sorts of social media here.
Bluesky.
It's real fucking hard to keep up with all this bullshit that's going on with the social media wars. And, we have been jokingly calling it the social media wars, but it's really just one dumbass. It's not really a war, really. It's just some social media dumbassery. But yes, you can follow us on Twitter.
Oh, my God.
Becky, look at her butt.
Look at her butt.
Crap.
Oh,
Do you like to look at people's butt?
Crap.
Sorry. Is that too gross?
I'm cool with it.
Because
we can cut that if it's too gross.
No, we're not going to cut it. It can. Two things can be true at one time. It can be too gross, and we can not cut it.
But then it wouldn't be too gross.
No, but got to push the line. That's what we're doing here. We're entertainers. We're pushing the line.
City Alpha 5.
This is City Alpha 5. Star Trek social media.
City Alpha Jive.
We are just put the @ symbol and @ It's Got Star Trek. @ symbol It's Got Star Trek. Pretty much everywhere. Blue Sky.
It's the internet.
X, Twitter, whatever it's called. Instagram,
YouTube.
Threads, Mastodon. We are on YouTube, as Jesse just noted.
Yeah. My Twitter icon is an X now.
It's so stupid.
There's a straight up web page you could go to. And
yes, you can go to itsgotstartrek.com.
If you like web pages, old school.
You can go to Facebook.
Fine.
definitely, please send us in some audio recordings. Go to itsgotstartrek.com/record. Again,
be a part of our 200th.
Yes, again, and who knows? We'll keep it up there, and maybe people can, if they like, submit comments on future episodes as well. We can incorporate that into some of the evolution.
A lot.
Some of the evolution of the show into the into the next 200 episodes. But yeah, so itsgotstartrek.com/record.
Clever bits.
You can don't worry, it's not you can replace the recording if you don't like it, or just cancel it. You can hear it back before you send it.
You can just type something,
or you can just send us an email.
If you don't want to hear your voice.
But if you cancel it, you have to call our help desk and make sure that you cancel it with the representative on the phone first.
There's no help
and
desk.
then you have to unsubscribe from our email list too. So it's really hard to cancel.
I will.
If you don't do it right, we'll charge you $20 extra.
Oh, that is.
I'll put Dan's phone number on his cell number
that
on
can
the
be
help
the
desk.
Help desk.
Yeah,
oh, bummer.
And he'll walk you through it.
I've dug my own grave.
He'll get it all sorted out.
You're walking it.
I didn't think about that.
Hey.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Who's playing that organ?
I have no idea. But
is it Walter Wanderley?
That is enough for us this has gone on far too long, and it's far too silly.
Yes.
But
I'm so punchy tonight. I was so tired a couple hours ago. Now I'm just like,
We didn't get our sillies out before the podcast.
I put them in.
Like
you
we
put
usually
your sillies
do.
in, you take your sillies out.
We took them out, we put them back in.
Because we left them on the floor and then we picked them up and put them in.
It's really hilarious to think about like how like a quote unquote regular episode that's not as ridiculous as this one. Like
it's not that different.
I was like, oh, that's where we take things seriously.
Those serious parts.
That's enough for tonight. We'll be back with the next fucking episode.
We don't
soon.
know.
We don't know, but sooner than a week probably. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
They never improved on these. I mean, yeah, they got smaller and more powerful and arguably less likely to explode, but design-wise... Explode, you say?